refill.
Refill her up.
All right, we're back in business. Yo, welcome back to the Out the Box Show. I'm John Wallace alongside my co-hosts James Luffy and Rory Luke, and we're 3 weeks away from March. 3 weeks away from the great month of March. Do y'all know what makes March special?
Do I know what?
What makes March special?
March Madness.
March Madness, yes. Luffy, what else?
Baseball.
What else?
It's got
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. All great answers. And what got me really thinking about March tonight is our basketball team, the LSU Tigers, got a win, their first win after a 3-game skid. And what is March Madness all about? Y'all know?
Getting hot.
Getting hot at the right time. And that begs the question, is this LSU team getting hot at the right time?
I think we'll have to say that's a bold assumption. Look,
Yeah, I mean, the game tonight was weird because we've been, we never lost. Will Wade's never lost 4 in a row. We've been sliding, and you just had to have a good performance. The season was pretty much on the line tonight, and Vegas was giving us, we were the favorite in this game, which we probably shouldn't have been, just based off what we've played. Yeah, but I think that was the line kind of telling you that we're just a better team than them. And Pinson finally looked healthy for the first time in a while. And with him back healthy playing, and then we finally made some shots, stayed out of foul trouble in the first half, and it made a huge difference having Pinson back out there, really.
Yes. And the LSU basketball team, and that's what I'm saying. They're getting hot at the right time. We're getting everybody back. Days did foul out, but was still a key contributor. Pinson getting the minutes up. We're ready rolling into March. And you know what else is ready rolling into March? The Out the Box podcast. Thanks to the Boot Crew Media Network. We have an awesome show for you guys. Cannot wait to get to it. But Boot Crew Media is on fire right now. All kinds of podcasts, you name it. It's honestly like I say it every single week, and it still doesn't do it justice. The amount of content on bootcrewmedia.com. Make sure to check it out on bootcrewmedia.com as well as on social media at bootcrewmedia. Entertainment for hours. Also, want to give a huge shout out to the newly engaged Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty. Congrats to Blaine. Let's give a clap for Blaine. Out the Box podcast.
Did you see Blaine 3 houses in a week last week? Man's on fire. Yeah,
man,
you got to blow him out.
There's more to come. Blaine is on fire. The housing market now has never been a better time to buy a home, sell a home, rent a home out. Whatever you want to do in real estate, Blaine Lube will be happy to answer your questions. Make sure to call or text him at 504-858-0031 for all your housing needs. We have an absolutely awesome show for you guys. One of the easiest interviews I think we've ever done. I think you'll know what I mean whenever you listen to this. Honestly, this LSU legend that we had on the podcast, Senior Associate Athletic Communications Director, Mr. Bill Franques, was happy enough and kind enough to give us 30 minutes of interview for the Out the Box show and our listeners. He's the voice
of Alex Box.
Like, his voice, if this doesn't get you ready for baseball season, I don't know what will. We talked everything from this year's LSU team to past relationships with coaches. He has been there since 1989. So lots to get to with him. We thank him so much for coming on the show. Also, obviously, like we talked about in the intro, LSU basketball getting hot at the right time. So Luffy gave a great recap of that, and LSU is up next at Mississippi State in the PMAC. Then we're going to kind of go through. I know Bill kind of talked about now which players were doing well in the fall, leading into the spring. How Jay Johnson has kind of molded them and taken over the program. But we're going to give our own personal out the box opinions on the starters, right? We're gonna kind of break it down from that point of view. And with that, let's get to the LSU legend, Senior Associate Athletic Communications Director, and the voice of Alex Box Stadium, Mr. Bill Franques himself. All righty, we now have a very special guest on the Out the Box podcast. He is Senior Associate Communications Director since 1989, I believe. You might also know him as the Alex Box Public Address Announcer, an LSU baseball lifer, Mr. Bill Franques. And Bill, I want to go ahead and start off the interview. You know, we're less than 2 weeks away from opening night at the box. And I just want to know, like, you know, obviously whenever the season's getting closer, gearing up, like, do you start getting butterflies? Like, is it the same as it was 30 years ago when you started?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. And yeah, I would say, yeah, the butterflies are definitely there. When I look at the calendar and I see it's February 7th, and I realize we're less than 2 weeks from that opening night, there's a lot of work yet still to be done. But having done it for 3 decades, I'm pretty familiar with what has to be done and how we need to prepare. And now it will be a little different this year, of course, with Coach Johnson and a new staff. But in fact, earlier today, we had a meeting with a couple of representatives on his staff to talk about how we handle media after the game and how we want to do the starting lineup. Just a lot of little things that go into the presentation at the game itself. So we may see a few differences from what we've done in the past with Coach Maneri and his staff. But, man, I'll say, as you guys know, Coach Johnson and his staff have been fantastic in the way they've promoted the program to the public and to the media. And of course, the players are just thrilled to be working with these guys. The players love the work ethic of the coaches, the dedication to seeing improvement every day. And this is about as much excitement as I've seen for an LSU baseball season in a number of years. Of course, Coach Maneri had a great run, and I also worked with Coach Smoke Laval and, of course, Coach Bertman starting back in 1989. But there's as much excitement for this season as there has been in all the years that I've been associated with LSU baseball, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
So you mentioned the coaching change. Obviously, there's a lot of buzz going on around that, and you have been around for multiple coaching changes at LSU. Does this one stand out in any particular way, or is it more just like kind of the same, getting things reacquainted and making sure everything's ready to go?
Yeah, I think it stands out mostly, John, because of I guess Coach Johnson is out of that LSU family tree, so to speak. Of course, when I came, the last time this happened was when Skip Bertman was hired. Skip Bertman came from the University of Miami back in the summer of 1983 with no prior ties to LSU at all. The previous 3 coaches, the coaches I've worked with, of course, I worked with Coach Bertman. But he was already into his 6th year here when I started working with him. And then, of course, Smoke Laval was Skip's first primary assistant coach. Smoke did all the recruiting and was a huge factor in LSU winning those first 2 national championships. He left to become the head coach at UL Monroe and came back to become the head coach here after Skip retired. And then Coach Maneri actually played at LSU for a season, and he was very familiar. And, of course, he had ties to Skip because both Skip and Paul grew up in Miami. Skip actually did lessons with Paul Maneri when Paul was a kid. So there was that kind of that Bertman LSU connection for the past 3 decades. But Jay Johnson, as you guys know, he's completely a West Coast guy. He spent his entire coaching and playing career out on the West Coast at Point Loma Nazarene in California, head coach at the University of Nevada, head coach at the University of Arizona, and now here at LSU. And his staff is basically the same way. Jason Kelly, the pitching coach, California native, has worked mostly in the Pac-12 at Washington and Arizona State. Mark Wanaka, who's the hitting instructor and the volunteer coach, he's been with Jay since Jay was at the University of Nevada. He's a native of California. Dan Fitzgerald is a native of Minnesota, but he spent most of his coaching at Dallas Baptist University, which has a tremendous program. So it's much different in that way, in that we've kind of thought out of the box, so to speak. And we have a new coach and a new staff who have no prior ties to LSU. And that can be a little concerning, but at the same time, I think in the past 6 months, of the way that Coach Johnson and his staff have adapted to the culture here and to the the environment and the players. I think it's been a very smooth transition.
Have you like personally had like a lot of interactions with like Coach Johnson and the staff, like speaking to them?
Yes, yeah, yeah. My job entails a lot of communication. Not as much in the fall, perhaps, but of course now, as the season is almost upon us, almost really daily communication with him and his staff about things like social media and media relations, press conferences, how they want to handle daily interviews, just a variety of things that all statistics, just everything that involves publicity and promotion of the program. So yeah, there's a lot of there was quite a bit because he was new and his staff was new. There was a lot of interaction in the fall, maybe that I didn't have as much with Coach Maneri because I knew Coach Maneri already so well for 15 years. We didn't have to communicate with one another as much during the fall. But this fall was a little different in that there was Jay and Jason Kelly and Dan Fitzgerald, Mark Wanaka. Tyler Nordgren is the director of operations, also a guy from the West Coast. And so I worked very closely with Tyler as well, just to get an idea of how Jay likes to run things from a media perspective. So I feel very comfortable with the communication that we've had with each other. Jay is very open to any ideas. He realizes the value of being as connected as he possibly can to the media and to the general public. And I think it's worked so far because, as I said earlier, I can sense a real excitement from our fans for this season. And I think Jay's done a great job of connecting with the fans, and I think that'll continue through this season.
And like a follow-up question to kind of like switch to maybe like the on-field ability of Coach Johnson. Do you think he's got a high burden to live up to with Coach Maneri and specifically Coach Maneri's ability to tinker? Mm-hmm. We've said this on the podcast before. Coach Maneri is like an all-time tinkerer with the lineup, moving the lineup. And I'm sure having to have the starting lineup every day, it can be different any day of the week.
That's right.
Do you think Coach Johnson can live up to that hype of one of the all-time baseball tinkerers?
Yeah, I think so. I think, as you guys know, Coach Johnson's background, his strength is offense. In Arizona, set numerous records in the Pac-12 for hits, runs, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and he's got a lot of weapons here at LSU. I will say, Coach Maneri did a fantastic job here, and he left the program in great shape. And he left some fantastic players here for Coach Johnson. And of course, Jay has brought in some of his own guys like Jacob Berry, who's the National Freshman of the Year at Arizona. He's brought in a couple of pitchers from Arizona, a pitcher from San Francisco. Tyler McManus, who's a Louisiana native, but transferred from Samford University in Birmingham. So they've been, along with the real core of great players, Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan, Cade Doty, Gavin Dugas, all those guys coming back from the Maneri era. Jay's added his own guys, and the result is he's got the chance to have a very, very potent lineup. He's got a lot of different options where to place those guys in the lineup. So I think we may see something similar early in the year to what Coach Maneri did. Jay's going to try different things. The most notable thing that's come out of the last couple of weeks is that Trey Morgan has seen time in center field during scrimmages. So that is largely because Cade Beloso has been so effective swinging the bat and playing well defensively at first base. So you may see an opportunity for Trey to get some time in the outfield to allow Beloso to play first base. So that's just one example, but there are a lot of others. He's got a lot of strength in the outfield. Cruz can play center field. Cruz can play right field. Braden Jobert, another big transfer hitter, Louisiana native, played at Nichols, played at Delgado in New Orleans, and transferred here. He's a guy who can play the outfield, also play some first base, be a DH. So, and as I mentioned, Jacob Berry. Berry really made his name as a DH last year at Arizona, but I would expect him to get a lot of time at third base this year, allowing Cade Doty to move over from third base to second base, where I think Cade's really going to thrive. So, yeah, there are a lot of offensive weapons, a lot of great athletes on this team. So it does give Jay a lot of options and that ability to tinker if he wants to.
So as part of your lead up, like going to scrimmages, going to practices, learning about the team, do you feel like since you've been doing this for so long, I know this is going to be a really good team this year, or like how's your feel on like teams going into the season? Like I'm not asking you to answer that, but I'm saying, do you feel like personally, like I think this is going to be a really damn good team?
Yeah, I feel that way because I've seen a lot of these guys for years, and I've seen Gavin Dugas now for three. This will be his 4th year with the program. I've seen Devin Fontenot, Mikhail Hilliard. I know what kind of players those guys are, what kind of leaders they are, and they've played in some huge games for LSU. Now, granted, those guys have never been to Omaha, and that's a big reason why I think they wanted to come back, because it has been 5 years since LSU's been in the College World Series. But then, of course, I witnessed firsthand the ability of Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan and Jordan Thompson and Cade Doty. Alex Milazzo is a great defensive talent behind the plate. Brody Drost is a young man who has worlds of potential. So I'm familiar with all those guys who were on the team last year and saw them win a regional at the University of Oregon after losing the first game and coming back and winning. So I know what they're capable of. Mix in that core of returning players with a new coaching staff, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of hard work, great work ethic, plus the transfers that Jay's brought in. I think the potential, certainly offensively, is for this to be a very, very powerful ball club. Now, I will say that I think the concerns about pitching is legitimate, not so much because we don't have talented arms, just because we don't have very experienced arms yet. So I think that's going to be the most interesting aspect early in the year, is to see how Jason Kelly is able to develop that pitching staff and see how, because it's been a while since we don't have any real established returning starter other than Mikhail Hilliard. Mikhail, of course, has started at times on weekends throughout his entire career, but we can't really say we have that number one pitcher coming back from a previous year, which, in the past we've had the Aaron Nolas and the Kevin Gosmans and the Alex Langs and the Jared Poches. So that's going to be interesting to see how that starting rotation takes shape. But again, a lot of great candidates, a lot of young arms. Jay, as I said, brought over Bryce Collins and Riley Cooper from Arizona. He brought over Eric Razelman from the University of San Francisco. Coach Maneri and his staff did a great job in recruiting some young pitchers that are now true freshmen here. So I think that definitely the potential is there for us to have a strong pitching staff. But I would say that there is certainly legitimate concern about how long it takes those guys to really gel, but not because they're not talented, just because they haven't done it yet.
Bill, so with the season less than 2 weeks out, what makes Alex Box special is that it's Alex Box, right? And the
Right.
fans that show up. And James right here has kind of had I wouldn't really say a gripe, but more of a suggestion for the student section placement. Mm-hmm. I think he feels like, and I'm going to let him kind of expand on it, but I think he feels like the student section needs to be out in left field. And it needs to be more of almost like how Mississippi State does it, how they go wild and nuts out there. And do you think that would help some of our inexperienced pitchers maybe get a little edge?
Yeah, I think it's cool how I've noticed in the last couple of years, for years, back in the 90s, really, and of course, we had a smaller stadium in the old Alex Box, and there really wasn't any space for students. When baseball became popular and we started selling season tickets, students were not really a big factor in that, unfortunately. However, and then even in the early days of the new box, which opened in 2009, our student attendance wasn't that great. But I've noticed in the past couple of years, the students seem to be reacting more to our players and coming out to the ballpark. In fact, I was in a meeting this morning with our marketing director, and she tells me she spent a large part of her marketing budget on food for students at games. So I know there's definitely going to be an effort there from our marketing department to incentivize students to come to more games and to be more of a presence at the game. So I know that LSU definitely wants to have more student involvement. And I saw it, like I said, the past couple of years, the students seem to be coming out more. I know they had that relationship last year with Dylan Cruz, the students in right field, and Cruz kind of played off each other. It was a lot of fun. So I hope that continues. And I know LSU is going to make bigger, stronger efforts to incentivize students to come out to the ballpark.
Yeah, I think it was great that they moved him because they was in that right field corner at
yeah,
first. Right. Even getting them to the outfield, they feel like they're more like on their, like they're separate, that they're not sitting 2 feet away from like a family or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah,
we want them to be themselves.
Yeah, their own little section. I think that I think that's been the improvement, like you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead, Rory.
Well, you can go ahead, John, because mine's kind of backtracking. So.
Oh, I was gonna. Well, he mentioned the old Alex Box as opposed to the new. I mean, what type of step was that for the LSU baseball program? I mean, it seems like the fan involvement. I think most people you would say, or they would say that it was time for an upgrade. What has that done for the program? Getting, obviously it was over 10 years ago, but how did that propel this program into this next era of college baseball?
Oh, absolutely. It was absolutely necessary to keep up with all the other schools in the SEC because, as you guys know, when Skip Bertman became the coach here, really the only SEC program that even took college baseball seriously was Mississippi State. And of course, Skip raised the standard for everybody in the league. So everyone now was rising to LSU standard throughout the 90s. And by the time we got into the late 2000s, we had several very, very strong SEC baseball programs. So I think it was, and Skip realized this. By this time, Skip was the athletic director here, and he realized how vital it would be for LSU to have the type of facility that would attract the type of players that we needed to compete at the level now with everybody, with Mississippi State, with Ole Miss, with Florida, with Vanderbilt, with Arkansas, all these schools now with brand new at that time, brand new stadiums and a lot of energy in their program. So yeah, the new box was absolutely necessary. I will say, the old box had a lot of charm. I guess you guys are probably too young to remember, but it was like I said earlier, it was a smaller stadium. It was an old stadium. It was built in 1938. The way the stadium was configured, the fans were right on top of the field, man. It was such an intimidating place. When it was packed, it was so intimidating for the opponent, especially the opposing pitcher. So I think we lost a little bit of that in the newer box because it's a bigger field. It's more, the stadium's bigger, more spread out. So maybe we don't have that intimidating factor we once had. Although we still get reports from other schools who say, man, I couldn't believe how loud it was in that place. So I think, and now here we are, 13 years later since it opened. And now we're kind of in that position again where we need to keep adding to it. We need to keep renovating. We need to think of ways to keep that energy going for the fans and for recruiting purposes. So a lot of things have been added in recent years. The brand new Marucci Weight Training Center has been added, which has been a huge plus. It's hard to believe for years our baseball players used to have to go into the football complex to work out. Now they have a great facility right here behind right field of the box. So that's been a huge addition as well. And so I think, we've had Populous, which is an architectural firm that has built stadiums all over the world. They recently have come in and done a site survey, and I don't think all the results have been tabulated yet, but I know they've met with Scott Woodward. They've met with our facilities people, and they're looking at ways to even enhance Alex Box even more to make it more fan-friendly and create even a greater atmosphere for both fans and players. So hopefully that's something we'll be talking about in the next couple of years.
And just to kind of stay on top of what you were just talking about, I think right now across the SEC and maybe across college baseball in general, it's like becoming maybe like the most popular it's really ever been and a nationwide kind of thing. And especially in the SEC, I mean, you're seeing it now with everybody getting new stadiums. I mean, Mississippi State just got a new stadium, Ole Miss. And like you said, I'm happy to hear that, we're definitely making adjustments and kind of staying on that forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right.
That's what has made this program kind of great, is that we've always been on the forefront of things.
You're right. You're exactly right, Rory. I think that's going to be critical if we want to maintain that pinnacle position in college baseball. I think we definitely set the standard, with Skip Bertman as the coach and then as the athletic director. Now it's up to us to make sure we maintain that standard, that we maintain that level of excellence. And I think, man, with Coach Johnson here, I think that's definitely going to be the case because he knows exactly what he wants for this program. He and his staff, man, they are just relentless recruiters, and they know what recruits want to see when they come to visit a campus and visit a baseball complex. So I think he has a very definite vision of what he wants. And I know our administration wants to, or shares in that vision, and they want to make it come to fruition. So I'm hoping with it, like I said, in the next few years, we'll have an even better and more enhanced Alex Box Stadium.
And okay, so you talked about this a little bit earlier, but I do want to backtrack. You've been at LSU for a very long time.
Yes.
Longer than before we were all born.
That's
you were
right.
part of LSU program. And so I have a question, just kind of like all your years, what pitcher do you really remember like electrifying Alex Box? So for me, and probably for most of us, like I specifically remember like Alex Lang his freshman year, those Friday nights. He was really electric. And then even like the 2017 year, when Zach Hess would come in to close the games, like that second half of the year, that was an electric stadium when he would come in. So I just wanted to kind of bounce that question off you and see what some pitchers you would think.
That's a great question. And as you know, we've had an amazing group of pitchers over the years. I guess I'll go back to my early years before y'all were born and maybe bring up some old history. I remember the days, back in the late 80s, early 90s, we had 6 guys who went on to the major leagues pitching for those staffs. John O'Donohue, who was a tall lefty, Ben McDonald, of course, Russell Springer, Curtis Laskanik, Paul Bird, and Chad Auger. And of course, those guys would create a lot of intensity when they were on the mound. The one guy that stands out to me among that group is Chad Auger. Chad was a Lake Charles native, not a great physical specimen, not a guy like Ben McDonald, but just a hardworking guy. Just didn't have a 95 plus mile per hour fastball, but he had a low 90s fastball. He could mix in the breaking pitches. He could pitch to spots. He and Coach Bertman were so in sync on the pitches that Coach was calling. Like Chad anticipated what Skip wanted even before he got the signals. And he had an unbelievable career. He was the winning pitcher in our first national championship game. But I just remember back in those days when the crowds at the box were really starting to swell and people were anticipating great things from our program. Chad Auger was always the guy on the mound to get the big out and the big win. And I just remember some of his strikeouts would just electrify the crowd. And he was such an intense guy that people really fed off that energy. So I'll go back old school. I'll say Chad Auger. And more modern times, the guys you mentioned, of course, Lang and Hess were phenomenal. And I think Aaron Nola, although Aaron Nola was a very low key personality, and that personality was exhibited even on the mound, boy, he was something special. And I think Aaron Nola in more modern days was the guy I think of when I think of a guy someone who could really raise the energy level and really get a crowd excited.
Yeah, that whole history, like the amount of time you've been at LSU is absolutely incredible. And I think whenever people hear, your voice at the stadium, like it is so distinct and it is calm, but it is commanding, behind the mic. And I guess being there so long, kind of get a little personal here if I can. You've been there for a long time. In the past couple of years, you battled cancer and you've been around through thick and thin for the program. What is it like to have Bill Franques Day at Alex Box Stadium? What does that mean to you?
My family still teases me about that. They're not as impressed with that as maybe other people.
Awesome. You have a day named after you at Alex Box.
That was awesome. In fact, my next door neighbor still wears his Bill Franques Day T-shirt to mow the lawn sometimes. Awesome. But no, that was great. I mean, that was, Coach Maneri, that was all Coach Maneri's idea. And of course, I love Coach Maneri, just a first class guy. And we worked together for 15 years and he really appreciated everything that we did in a communications and sports information capacity. And that was so kind of him to engineer all of that and to have, it was a very special day for me and for my family. And I was just so grateful. I've been, 30, this is my 34th season. And I've just been so grateful to have to work with such a first-class program like LSU Baseball, that Skip really set the foundation for, and Smoke and Paul have continued the legacy, and Jay will as well. And I just feel very fortunate. And I was very grateful for that honor, and I don't take it for granted. I don't take any of this for granted. I realize how lucky I am to have worked in this capacity for so long, and I'm definitely looking forward to to a few more years. I don't know how much longer I can go, but I told Jay I'm not leaving anytime soon.
As long as you can go is the answer.
Yeah,
you gotta keep going as long as you can.
I saw that Ben McDonald was your first game you called. He was on the mound. And
yes, first game I worked with Ben McDonald.
And I saw Mike Bianca was on there, so I was like, that's pretty cool that he's calling. Now Drew is on the team.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm definitely. It's definitely a little humbling, and I realize how old I am when I'm now working with the sons of players that when I worked with their dads. So I worked with Mike with Drew's dad, Mike. Andrew. Well, this is not so much an LSU baseball connection, but Andrew Stevenson and Josh Stevenson, who's a freshman on this year's team. They, of course, are brothers. Andrew's now in the big leagues with Washington, but I went to high school with their parents. So, I definitely feel my age when I'm working with the kids of people that I went to high school with, and of course, Drew and Mike, the father-son connection there is fantastic. And but like I said, I'm very grateful for all these opportunities. I've met so many wonderful people. The players have been great. Their parents, all the fans. It's to me, LSU baseball. There's something very unique about it. I think it brings our community together. I think it means a lot to people, and I think it brings a lot of joy to people. And I hope that continues.
So you were just saying that like your career was kind of just like on the downslope, not coming to an end, but it's on the downslope.
Right.
And almost pretty much every well, every game you get the kids announcer inning. Yeah. You see any potential there, or
absolutely. There've been some real impressive young voices. Kids that definitely could take my spot in a few years without a doubt. In fact, Cade and Braden Doty have a younger sister, and she's done it a couple of times, man. She's really good. And so I imagine I might see her again. She may be too old now. I think our age limit is 12 years old. She's on that borderline. But yeah, Cade and Braden's sister was great, and there've been a lot of kids who've really relished the opportunity, and it's fun. Some of them they get their picture taken with me, which of course I'm honored to do that for them. But the parents come with them and they love it. So yeah, that's a great promotion. Again, that started back at the old box, and I'm glad it's something that stayed with us all these years.
I feel like whenever Giovanni DiGiacomo's on, and like one of the next three batters up, you just got to like hold your breath and pray that kid is going to do all right.
Yeah, our marketing department does a great job. They prep the kids. The kids usually come up to the press box about an inning before they go on, and they sit with one of our marketing people, and they go through all the names, how to say them, and for the most, we've had some funny interpretations of some of the names over the years, but for the most part, the kids do a great job.
I think you remember certain things just like you don't know why you remember them, but I remember I was at the box one time. I think I was old enough or young enough to do the junior announcer, and I heard a kid pronounce Matt Liuzza's name like went to different octaves and everything. I loved it. So that is definitely something that we look forward to at the box.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Okay.
I'm not sure about these guys, but you in your position at LSU, forgive me if I butcher the title, but you're the AD's liaison to the LSU Athletic Hall of Fame, which has to do with voting on nominees, jersey retirement, recognition statues, and whatnot. What do we need to do to expedite the Joe Burrow statue and the jersey retirement?
That's a great question. I need to review my my Constitution, my Hall of Fame Constitution. I believe currently, in order for a statue to be placed on campus, an athletics department, someone who participated in athletics, there must be a 5-year waiting period. And I'm not sure exactly why that was instituted. I mean, I think that Constitution was probably written in the 1970s. But at this point, the way the rules are configured right now, I guess we'd be another couple of years away, because Joe's been now out 3 years. So at this point, I would anticipate within the next 2 years some movement on that happening, because obviously it's going to happen. The impact that he made upon this entire community, this entire state, is something that can't be questioned. So, but I think we're probably looking at a minimum of another 2 years, because if we're unless the rules are changed, which naturally they could be changed, but right now the way the rules are stated is that there's a 5-year waiting period from the time that the athlete no longer competes here.
Well, you have the power to waive that, right? Just say, I've been here longer than all of y'all.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I need to appear at the next Board of Supervisors meeting.
Yes. Y'all got
So,
any more questions?
Oh, you got it, Luffy.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Roy.
So I got another. You've been around for a long time. You've seen many of LSU baseball uniforms.
Yes.
And you see them all. Do you have a favorite? Because I mean, for me, like right now, I think we wear like 7.
Yeah.
I think my top 2 have to be the pinstripes with the tiger script.
Yes.
I think that's a beautiful uniform. And then I'm a fan of the all white. I think the all white looks good for like the first 2 innings, and after that, it kind of gets dirty. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I would say the pinstripes right now are probably my favorite. One reason why is because I guess in a way I've always considered LSU the Yankees of college baseball. So I associate when I think of the Yankees, I think of pinstripes. So I like the fact that we wear pinstripes, and in fact, don't quote me on this yet, but it looks like Jay is leaning toward wearing pinstripes at home on Friday nights. So I think it's pretty cool.
Wow.
So that there's a good strong possibility you could see that next Friday night for the season opener against Maine, that we may be wearing pinstripes, which I think is great. Because like I said, when I think LSU baseball as it relates to college baseball, I think of the same way I think of the Yankees relating to the MLB. So I like those pinstripes. And then going old school, I used to love the old gray uniforms we wore back in the early 90s. In fact, the uniform we wore in our first national championship game, there was a gray uniform with the LSU interlock logo on the chest, and it had the purple piping on the jersey and down the sides of the pants. I thought those were pretty cool.
And so I don't know if you saw this year, but I'm a big Mets fan, and the Mets brought back the black uniforms.
Oh.
Do you think it's time to bring back the black?
Woo! I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. You know, that was toward the end of Skip's career. I mean, I think it was '99. We wore black jerseys for a few years. I don't know. It felt like I mean, just personally, to me, it felt like we weren't watching LSU baseball.
It feels forced.
So,
you don't want to force anything.
Players loved it. Actually, I will say I thought the caps were pretty cool. I like the black caps with the purple bill. I like those. That was a little different, but I wasn't a big fan of the black jerseys, honestly. But yeah, that's something that I'm sure that they could return. I know players would enjoy that. But you know, we're looking at some other options. We have a very innovative, creative designer, and he has gone through and pulled a lot of the old uniforms that were worn in Skip's early days. So we may see some of those appear in the next few years. Maybe some old throwbacks from the '80s, which I think fans would really enjoy.
Awesome.
That'd be awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. Bill, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
It's really cool to talk to somebody who's been around the LSU baseball program for the thick and thin. And we could not be more excited to hear your voice at the box in a couple weeks. Yeah. And thank you for all you do for LSU baseball.
Yeah, we're all big fans.
Like I said, it's my honor. It's been I'm so grateful for having the opportunity to do this for so long, and I'm definitely looking forward to next weekend and the start of great things in the Jay Johnson era. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Let's do another podcast mid-season.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All righty. We want to give
Bill Franques, the baseball guy. Bill.
All righty. We want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Mr. Bill Franques. In the intro, I kind of said that this was the easiest interview we've ever done. And I really do believe that, because he's just so calm and so eloquent in his choice of words and whatnot. And he just is so knowledgeable. You can tell whenever we'd ask questions, he would just roll. And just a genuine guy, been around the LSU baseball program for a long time, and we're happy that he gave us the time.
Definitely, like, when you talk about LSU lifers, he's an LSU lifer for sure. LSU baseball lifer. I mean, the knowledge on that guy he's literally seen pretty much the entire rise of LSU baseball, every national championship we've ever won. He's been here. A great interview, fantastic knowledge for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to think that I've been listening to his voice in that stadium for 23 years in 2 different stadiums. We talked about, that a little bit, but for 23 years is crazy.
33.
Well, 23 for me. Yeah, 23 for me.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing the guy hadn't done is call a game that Alex Box himself played in. So other than that, he's been around through thick and thin. So once again, thank you to Mr. Bill Franques. That was awesome. All right. Let's go straight in with, he dropped a bunch of names about certain players who to look out for and how Jay Johnson has kind of galvanized the team. Hopefully, I just wanted to use that word, galvanize. It just seems like a cool word for a coach coming into a program. But let's kind of go position by position, just kind of look at, given what we already know, and our bunch of returning guys from last year, new young guns coming in, some who came over with Coach Johnson. Let's go ahead and start. Y'all want to start with the outfield?
I'll say we start with catcher.
Yeah, I'm down.
Sorry, catcher.
Okay, all right. Forget what I just said. We're going to start with catcher. Alex Milazzo, the gunslinger, is going to be your starting catcher.
I'm out. I have a different starting
You don't
catcher.
say.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be McManus, the transfer, the grad transfer, Tyler McManus from Samford and Birmingham. He's a guy who's just hit it a lot. I mean, he hit it for average, he hit it for power, and he seems to be pretty good behind the plate too, from what we've heard. And he's an experienced catcher, and obviously I think Milazzo is going to play too. You need 2 catchers in a college baseball season and playing a college baseball schedule, but I think that McManus will probably be your everyday starter.
Yeah, I agree. I think McManus is your guy right now. Do I think Milazzo could come in? If McManus's defense gets bad, I definitely think Milazzo could step in, play catcher, and you move McManus to DH. That's further down the line. I think opening day, McManus is your catcher behind the plate. I think your only question, like you said, is pretty much defense. The guy hits for power, hits for average. I mean, this is a double digits home run type of guy. Hit the cover off the ball at Samford, which is, a lower D1 program, but a very solid program. Coming in, he's a top 50 catcher in the nation, according to D1 baseball. I think he was like around the 30s. So he's got high expectations for a transfer coming in and getting behind the plate right away.
So I guess my thoughts on Milazzo are, is Jay Johnson, what is he known for, right? Power lineups, guerrilla baseball. I'm interested to see if Coach Jay Johnson could get in the cage and transform a guy who, let's be honest, is a gunslinger behind the plate and is a lethal weapon back there on defense, but has struggled at the plate at times. Can Jay Johnson come in and make that sort of a change? I know after a certain point in your college career, you kind of are what you are, but it will be interesting to see kind of a new philosophy. And we know Coach Beneri has sacrificed in the past bats for defense. So I'm interested to see Jay Johnson's balance of that, which the more I think about it, I do think McManus probably gets the nod given Jay Johnson's background at coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I agree for sure. If you can get Milazzo, right with the bat in his hand, I mean, the kid's going to be good. Red shirt sophomore, so he has 3 more years to play.
Yeah.
I mean, this is McManus's
last year.
So I think what you're doing is you give Milazzo reps and working on that bat, and then next year hopefully you get a really big season out of Milazzo. So we'll see.
All right. I guess I'll ask permission. Can we move on to the infield? Is that what y'all want to talk about?
Yeah, I was thinking, first base?
Yep. Yes. I would think first.
Who's or Luffy?
So we kind of alluded to this a little bit in the interview, but we think it may be Beloso. It seems like that's kind of what we're hearing from different radio hosts, and then for Bill Franques to say that too. I think that it looks like it's going to be Beloso, which is such a shock to a lot of people because how good Trey Morgan was in the infield last year. But it looks like he's definitely still going to be in the lineup in this preview a little later on. But Beloso, I saw Matuk said that his swing looks shorter, more in balance. He's starting to make better contact, and he looks a lot better than last year. So hopefully those changes paid off.
I think this is where you're really going to see like Jay Johnson come in and make a difference. Taking like a pretty good power hitter, like I would say like Beloso last year. At the end of the year, he was a decent to average hitter. I think he kind of transforms this guy with the skill set. We've seen it his freshman year with the skill set there to really hit the ball. He's got a lot of natural power. To kind of tap into that and really make a difference. And, it's got to be happening if Bill Franques and everybody's saying K. Beloso's playing first. That means that he came out, had a really good fall, having a really good beginning of the spring, and kind of saying, like, the coaches are looking at each other like, we got to get this guy in the lineup, is what I assume. Because you don't really move Trey Morgan off first unless somebody's pushing him to go somewhere else, and I think Cade's obviously doing that. They wouldn't move him if else. So I think we expect hopefully the best year out of Cade Beloso's career. I think that's what's coming up, and if not, you just take Trey back, move him to first base. I mean, you got the best first baseman in the country. So good he's playing somewhere else, but.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was going to say, Roy. I mean, our outfield is so deep with guys that we know can hit the baseball. I think Beloso not being in the field last year really I think it just changes the whole way you go about the game. You're cold, you're not staying warm, you're focused on strictly hitting and whatnot. I think this will be a great change of pace back to what Cade Beloso was and what we know he can be at first base. So, and I'm very interested to see how athletic Trey Morgan can be in the outfield because, I mean, most of the amazing plays that he made at first last year were sheer athleticism, right? He has a great eye for the ball, but I mean, that athleticism doesn't go anywhere. That will translate well to the outfield.
So. Also, we alluded to this kind of last episode. We kind of talked about it for a second. You give up the defense at first base to have a better vet. It's just what you do. Like, defense at first base is great. It's amazing. It can be a game changer. But at the end of the day, it is a bat-driven position, So while Cade Beloso is obviously a tick down, probably like 2 or 3 ticks down from Trey Morgan defensive-wise, I think that having that extra bat in the lineup is so valuable.
All right, you want to get to second base?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I think we talked about this a little bit too with Bill, right? Doty moving over to second this year. Is that the consensus?
Yeah, Cade Doty over to second base. I think probably a more natural position for him.
Yep.
D1 Baseball's got him at the 4th best second baseman in the country.
Yeah.
And Cade Doty also one of the top juniors in the country. He's been on a consistent list and looking like a 2nd to 3rd round prospect. Depending on his year, he could definitely jump up into that fringe first, late seconds, or early seconds. So
I would agree with that. Where I think 2nd, 3rd round pick, a guy who hit over 300 and hit 13 home runs, hit triples, doubles, hits for power. He's just a really, really good college baseball player, and Jay Johnson keeps saying he looks like a pro, and I think that's your second baseman this year.
I also think he's kind of like, and there's some other guys that are this, but he's really like the glue of this lineup, like the bat that keeps the ball rolling, and he's just kind of like he's that glue guy. He's consistent. He brings it every day. You know what you're going to get. Just a guy that you need to have in your lineup that if you got other players that aren't really hitting the ball that day, this guy's going to get it together, hit the baseball, and get your team going.
Doty's a guy that is in the lineup every game this year, right? Like there's no reason that he shouldn't be in the lineup, regardless whether you move him over to third or second, or I mean, hell, even DH, right? I don't think that'll be the case. I'm just saying his bat has to be in the lineup for this team to be successful. Moving on to shortstop, I don't think there's much of a question. In my eyes, I think Jordan Thompson has earned that spot with his defensive play in the field. I think his bat definitely can work its way up in the lineup. Last year he was batting towards the end. I think this is another situation where Jay Johnson coming in, new hitting coach, new whole different approach to the game, can really only benefit Jordan Thompson.
Yeah, I'll talk. I like JT. He was great defensively last year. He was good in the clutch hitting category too. Hit some big home runs for us. Had some big singles and doubles, and big series SEC games. But he struck out too much and was just too inconsistent at the plate, and that's the one thing he'll have to work on this year. But another guy that I've heard some people mention is the transferred Merrifield. Is that how you say it? I'm not sure if that's right. Let me see if there's a pronunciation on here. I don't see one. Jack Merrifield, though, he was at LSU Eunice, I think, before, and is a guy who apparently hits the ball pretty well. And I think there was a little talk about maybe him playing some third, depending on how Barry does there. But I think he's maybe an option at shortstop if JT were to struggle. But I think Thompson's going to be our guy.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it all last year with the power. The power is definitely there. He's got that long kind of looping swing. Like you said, another guy that hopefully Jay Johnson can get in and really tap his potential, because the potential's there. He's got a stellar arm at short, makes great plays. And like you said, the clutch hitting, but just needs to maybe shorten up that swing a little bit and hit the ball more consistently. But I'm excited. I'm hoping that by the end of the year, we're talking about him being like really one of the best players. I think there's potential there for sure.
All right. So naturally, after shortstop, the last position in the infield, we're gonna move on over to third. This one, I feel like is the not the biggest question, but just like I guess just because you have Jacob Berry coming in, not familiar with the program, that it was Doty. It seemed like the past few years, Maneri, it was like third base was always the question, right? It was third and second. We always had a solid shortstop. First base was never really a question. But I feel like third, obviously, having to throw across the diamond and whatnot. You have Jacob Berry, who coming in, absolute beast. But the interesting thing is going to be, and we'll kind of get to this as we go to the outfield and whatnot, Bianco started his career at third base, right? So I definitely think while Barry might get the start on opening day, I would not be surprised very soon if you see Barry move kind of into the DH role. You see Bianco move to third, depending on our outfield situation. But at the same time, I don't see our outfield having much difficulty.
Yeah, I think that's the only question. I agree. Like about Jacob Berry is if he can stick at third consistently. I mean, the bat's there, switch hitter. Probably.
I mean, he's one of the best hitters in the country. Probably top 10 hitters in the country, no doubt. Hits for power, hits from both sides. There's not much needs to be said about him, but I do agree that is going to be a position that they will tinker with some.
Yeah, I think but I also think he's going to have a long leash because Jay Johnson's going to want. I mean, this is a guy, if he comes out and shows that he can play a solid to average third base, that's a guy that's going top 3, could be a potential number 1 pick.
Yes.
Because the bat's there, and if you show that you can play defense, then the bat will get you all the way to 1.
Yeah.
1-1. So I think that he's going to have a long leash at third. Jay Johnson's really going to let him feel it out because I think that if he shows well, I mean, the potential's there for him to really boost his draft stock off defense alone.
Yeah, I mean, and Barry too. Like, you have to think about injury a little bit. Like, he's a guy who might slide around in the outfield if someone gets hurt. And I think that's where that other guys like Merrifield and Bianco could come into play at third.
All right, I want to ask y'all's permission if we can go ahead and move on to the outfield.
It's okay with me, John. Rory?
All good.
All right, we're going to start in right field just to throw y'all off. I know y'all are ready to go straight to left because it's right above third and short. Right field, Dylan Cruz has locked down. This is the least questionable position in my eyes. Obviously, Dylan Cruz, the absolute monster at the plate. He already looks like he should be in at least the minor leagues and whatnot. Expecting more of the same from him this year.
Yeah, I think your only question is like one. I mean, we haven't seen any injuries, but you just hope he stays healthy, because that's always a thing. So stay healthy, and how good can this guy be? Like this. I mean, he's already one of the top players in the 2023 MLB draft. How good can he put himself into the Alex Bregman conversation?
The 1-1.
Is where we're going. Yeah, I think that the only thing we're asking ourselves is, can this guy be, LSU's Alex Bregman in right field or center?
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? I think you guys could also be in the right field. The two lineups that I saw from the scrimmages, Jacob Berry was in right field once, and Dugas was in right field once from two of the scrimmage lineups. So it's all going to depend on how Beloso does it first. Because if Trey Morgan plays center, then Cruz could actually end up playing left with Dugas or Berry and right. So there's a lot of different combinations, I think, for this outfield you'll see. But I just don't think it's going to be Cruz. I don't know. I don't know that it'll be Cruz to start, but maybe it will be.
Where does Cruz go?
He's probably going to be in left, I think. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see why they would have played. They played him in left and center in the scrimmages, and they put they put 2-3 guys in right field. I don't know. I mean, I think the outfield could switch a lot. I do.
Yeah,
and I guess we can just roll that straight kind of into center field. Like, yeah, I think Cruz could also play there. And
yeah, I agree.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's his position for most of the year. But we've heard that Trey Morgan's playing some there. Also, I think Brody Drost could play there some, possibly. He played a little bit last year. I haven't seen him in as many of the lineups, but he looked like a good athletic guy there last year when he played some. So,
yeah, I think as right now and what Bill Franques said, Trey Morgan slotted in opening day center fielder is what it looks like. I think that, and to go back to what you said about Dylan Cruz, I think Dylan Cruz can play all three outfield positions. So I don't think that his position kind of depends on everybody else. But I think in center right now it's Trey Morgan. If not, it could be Cruz. If Beloso is kind of having an off day, or maybe they want to put Trey at first, I think it could be Cruz. It also could be the good old Giovanni Giacomo. Giovanni Giacomo is back. He's played center field in the past. A guy that was really hurt last year, but I do like. I think he brings good speed and good on base percentage and a solid singles, doubles bat in the one hole in the leadoff. A guy that I really like, and I think come the end of the year, it'll be either he's playing consistently or he's transferring. I think that's where it'll be at. But I could definitely see him, just kind of taking advantage of a role and kind of really getting himself to an everyday player. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about right. Left with Dugas probably being in left, or if Cruz is going to be in right, Dugas in left, vice versa, whatever. But this is a really deep team in the field. There's other guys we haven't even talked about yet that we've heard good things about. Safford, who else? Drost, who I talked about a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Dugas. I mean, Dugas number 8, another glue guy, kind of just like Cade Doty, guy that showed up last year when we needed him. Really important player, a leader, just a great player to have on your team. But a guy that I like, and I think might get some playing time here and there, and might end up playing a big role. Again, Josh Pearson, freshman. I always I always think there's going to be like that one freshman that really comes on by the end of the year and is really playing in the lineup like an everyday type of guy. And I really think this kid could be it. Plays in the outfield. Josh Pearson can hit the piss out of the ball. Won like high school home run derbies. Louisiana kid. Just a really good hitter. Hits for a solid average and can really hit the ball. So I'm excited to see him. I think he might be like my sleeper guy of, he's not gonna be in the lineup opening day, but I think maybe come the end of the year, he's gonna be a guy that's a key contributor.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking about Dugas like he's just anyone. He had 19 home runs last year. So
Yeah.
I mean, this team is very deep, and we haven't even really gotten into Trey Morgan, who's an incredible all-around hitter, contact, situational hitting, clutch hitting. So this is just a really deep team. I think there's 7, 8 guys who could play in the outfield and be effective. So they're just going to have to find that right combination.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna. What I feel like it's gonna come down to is the bats. I mean, generally in the past, like it was the glove that was the that had the upper hand for Coach Maneri, and I think the new philosophy like is so. I'm so excited to see a still fantastic program that is left in such great hands, but has, to be honest with you, kind of a completely different philosophy than Coach Maneri had. And kind of talking about how much depth we have. I mean, listen to this lineup. I just kind of jotted this down. This is not at all out of the realm of possibility. Beloso in left, DiGiacomo in center, Cruz in right, Morgan at first, Bianco at second, Thompson at short, Doty at third, Milazzo at catcher. Those are all completely different. We've all agreed on pretty much who we think the starter is going to be, but that roster right there is still a winning baseball roster, right? No matter, like, there's so many different pieces that can go in different places, and they're all going to be good hitters. And if one's not having a good stretch of games or whatever, plug and play, right? I mean, this, to be honest with you, is, in my eyes, one of the most complete and deeper teams we've seen in a while. Now, new coach coming in takes a while to gel. Things got to mesh. But this roster is scary at their best. It is incredibly scary.
And I think, last position left with the DH, I think that's probably the most competitive spot on the team. In the past, even when we went to the national championship in 2017, you still had guys that at DH were not great hitters. I mean, we did not have the luxury of just having a really good hitter at DH, where I think now you have a list of like 3 to 4 guys who are battling to get into that spot because they're all really good hitters. I think you got Brody Dorsch. How do you pronounce the last name?
Drost, I think. We got Will Safford, Rory. You got You got Braden Jobert. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah, Braden Jobert yesterday hit a double and a home run.
I've heard some good things about him too in this fall.
The home run went 412 feet, 100 miles an hour off the bat.
Damn, it's John Power.
I mean, if I don't know where it went, but if that was a shot to center field, it's all the way out in center field. I mean, it could have went to right, left. I don't know, but that's out at any park in college baseball. I mean, that's a hell of a home run. There is so much potential with this lineup. I mean, I think about last year or even the couple of years before, like you were saying, John, you've always had like guys that they get up to the plate and you're like, oh, like this isn't out. Like,
it was like the 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, like, all right, this inning's a wash. Like, these guys can't hit the baseball. I mean, the way the lineup looks right now, I don't think there will be an inning where there isn't a guy that comes up to the plate and I'm thinking, oh, all right, this guy can get on base and make a play. This is the most complete lineup I think I've seen since we've probably been in school.
Yes, and the gravitation back towards this a power hitting lineup. We did kind of feel it a little bit last year, but just because of the raw talent, and I think the mix of guys coming in, whether it be transfers, new guys, and the amount of veterans on this team is pretty ridiculous as well. So I think that about rounds up the LSU baseball talk. Luffy's waving his phone at me. I think he's got an ad for us.
Listen, we're going to do a baseball tailgate coming up soon, and it's going to be sponsored by BOx LLC. They are one of Louisiana's leaders in construction, industrial, and residential services, and they have more than 20 years of experience. If you need a storage container, portable office, portable toilet, porta potty, luxury restroom rental, roll-off dumpster, you're redoing your house, you need a portable office, you need a portable restroom rental, you're having a tailgate, you need tents, call Martine at Workbox at 225-343-4886.
All right, let's get to the famous House Always Wins segment, Super Bowl edition, presented by the House Bar in Tigerland. Make sure to go out to the House Bar in Tigerland this spring. Rory Luke is going to be DJing, DJ Road Dog. Make sure to follow the House Bar in Tigerland on social media, on Twitter at Tigerland House, and on Facebook and Instagram at House in Tigerland. They post all their drink deals there, all their T-shirt giveaways, and what's going on over there. Spring is a great time to go to the House Bar. There's not so much pressure from football season and whatnot. You can just kind of go. It's more chill. So head on over to the House Bar in Tigerland. All right, Super Bowl edition, quick picks. Last week we agreed that we are going to give one actual pick and one prop bet pick for the Super Bowl, although I'm pretty sure all of us are going to bet a lot more than that, but these are the ones we feel most confident in. I am going to take the over. What else? It's the last football game of the year. I cannot – my heart is kind of telling me the under. I feel like there is the first quarter. It's going to be one of those games where, like, midway through the second quarter, the score is still going to be 0-0. And then, second half, both teams going to drive down, try to get some points before half, maybe have a total like 14 to 20 points at halftime. And then the second half is going to be an explosion. Two high-powered offense, a lot of LSU Tigers on the field, which is going to be pretty cool. But ultimately, I'm going to go with the over because I feel like the under is more likely. So the over, 49.5 points, minus 110, get it while it's hot. My prop bet, going to take Joe Burrow over 11.5 rush yards for the game. The reason I'm picking that is, one, he's done it a lot recently, and two, I feel like he's going to be under pressure a lot with the Rams defensive line. Aaron Donald's going to be getting in the backfield a lot, so he's going to have to escape the pocket, and who has better pocket presence than Joe Burrow? I think because he got sacked 9 times in the game the other day, I think they are going to put special emphasis on that in practice, and it's going to be free money. Joe Burrow over 11.5 rush yards, minus 125.
All right, I'll go next. I'm echoing. All right, no, I'm not. All right, we're good. I am not going the opposite of John, but close. I'm going with my main pick, the first half under 24.5, minus 135. I think that in the Super Bowl, like, the two teams got to feel each other out, They got to kind of play each other out, see how the defense is playing. I think they're going to play a little conservative in the first half. 24.5, I think you'll probably get maybe a Rams touchdown, a couple Bengals field goals, but I think that's about it. I think it'll be in play. I think both these head coaches are kind of going to try to feel each other out, see how it's going. You had 2 weeks to prepare. So these defenses had 2 weeks to prepare. You're going to be fresh. You're going to be hyped. Maybe a few overthrows. It is a Super Bowl. First time both these quarterbacks are in the Super Bowl. So kind of like how LSU 2019 national championship. They didn't stumble out the gate, but they weren't really revving. And then once that engine got roaring, we're all good. So I like the first half under 24.5. And then I'm taking the Cup, Stafford, dirty things that they do on the field. Cup, anytime touchdown, plus his over 104.5 yards, a little player prop parlay to get you plus 150. So Cup, anytime touchdown, and over 104.5 yards, plus 150. Cup and Stafford, the things that they do on that field should not be legal. It's got to be 18 plus. You can't let kids watch that stuff. It's disgusting.
I need to watch like the Nickelodeon version of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they need to censor it out. It's disgusting.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Roy, I really like that under pick. I'm adding that to my card. Add that to my card officially. I like that a lot. I agree with pretty much everything you said there. And the Rams have a really solid defense with Ramsey and Donald, obviously. But I'll take Bengals +4 for my pick. I'll be happy for the Tigers on each side of this game, pulling for the Bengals, but Andrew Whitworth, Odell, very deserving. Also, Odell likes the bright lights. I'm not sure what his over is. That's not my prop, but I'm maybe going to take that also. And for my prop, I'm going to take the first kickoff to be a touchback -150. So the odds aren't great, but you could parlay that with something. But I like that as a prop. John, you like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a decent bet if you parlay it with something, but you're kind of always getting on me for giving not.
Well, it's a prop bet. It's a prop bet. This is a normal bet. I wouldn't give you that with the normal bet, but it is a prop bet. It's one that I've already placed, so
I like that as well. That as well.
I think last year before the Super Bowl we just threw out a couple. I think we threw out a bunch of them, but I guess if I were to pick a bonus one, the tails for the coin toss is always a good one. I think the Lovey, I kind of had this one circled. Joe Burrow over 1.5 touchdowns -170, but I thought you'd kind of throw some shade my way for taking that one. OBJ's.
No, that's fine.
OBJ's, I believe his longest reception is 22.5 yards. So I don't know his actual receiving yards, but his I think his longest reception is 22.5 yards. So that's one to look out for. So
also, I read up a little bit on the anthem. I'm taking the over on the anthem. So I don't remember the name of the girl singing it, but supposedly she's like a speed anthem person. So she does her anthem really fast. So the number is really low. I think the number is something that everybody's hit in the last 10 Super Bowls or something. But all her previous anthems have been really fast. But I'm thinking Super Bowl, that's your time to shine. The nation's watching. You're going to put your best effort out there. So I'm giving the over on the anthem.
Okay. All right. Lovey, you good on prop bets for now?
I'm good.
All right, let's round out the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Couldn't do it without y'all. Last weekend of football until next year. We have had a great football season, but we're on to bigger and better things. March Madness is coming up. LSU baseball is on the horizon. Look out, man. It is going to be a fantastic spring. We got the 100th episode in 3 episodes from now. So there'll be 3 more, and then we'll be at 100. So we're still getting our plans together for that. Like Lovey said, look out for baseball tailgates popping up. Shout out to the Boot Crew Media Network, Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty, and also remember that Keller Williams is an equal opportunity housing partner. Each office independently owned and operated, and Workbox LLC. And Rory, I'm going to call you out. You guaranteed that we'd be back in the studio last week on the podcast, and we are not back in the studio. I need you to double down. Are we going to be back in the studio next week? It lies solely on you.
I don't think so. I don't know yet, but
the fans want to guarantee.
I can't give a guarantee. I gave a guarantee last week. I can't give a guarantee this week.
Okay, well, make us feel better about your New Year's resolution. Have you accomplished yours?
I have not, but working there every day.
I'm playing this weekend, so we're back.
Fantastic. I'm still eating like crap, so boom.
I'll put you on my diet plan, John.
Not
Get ripped quick. Get ripped quick.
I'm not doing a diet. I already said that. I'm just not eating so much.
Get ripped quick.
All righty.